The statistics are chilling. A report reveals that in India, an average of 275 husbands are murdered by their wives and 225 wives by their husbands each year. But numbers, however grim, can never capture the true horror of a crime. The betrayal, the brutality, and the chilling coldness behind it. One such case, a murder that made headlines across the nation in March 2025, continues to send shivers down the spine. We're talking about the case of Sahil, Muskan, and Saurabh, a story of a wife, Muskan, who, with her lover Sahil, brutally murdered her husband Saurabh. They suffocated him by climbing on his chest before dismembering his body into 15 pieces, stuffing them into a blue drum, and filling it with cement. While the gruesome details of the murder became public knowledge, there are many shocking truths about Sahil, Muskan, and Saurabh that remained hidden, especially the revelations unearthed after the charge sheet was filed. In this account, we will reveal the lesser-known aspects of this case, those disturbing facts that came to light only through the official investigation. To truly grasp the tragedy, we must first understand the main characters. The story begins in Meerut, where Muskan Rastogi lived. Her father ran a jewelry shop in the Brahmpuri area. In the same neighborhood lived the family of her future victim, Saurabh Rajput. It was here, in their childhood, that Saurabh and Muskan first met. Their youthful acquaintance blossomed into a close friendship, which, without them even realizing it, evolved into a deep love. By 2016, they were ready to marry and approached their families with their decision. The families, however, were not in favor of the union. The primary objection was the stark difference in their education and careers. Saurabh held a respectable position in the merchant navy, while Muskan had only studied up to the 8th grade. Despite their family's strong disapproval, a love-struck Saurabh took a drastic step. He defied his family's wishes and, in 2016, married Muskan in a court marriage. This decision came at a high price. His family cut all ties with him. Left on their own, the newlyweds rented a house in Brahmpuri, determined to build a life together. What began as a passionate love story, however, soon unraveled. The honeymoon period was short-lived, replaced by frequent, bitter arguments that became a daily routine. Amidst this domestic turbulence, they somehow held their marriage together. After a while, Saurabh returned to London for work. He continued in the merchant navy for a time before switching careers to work in a bakery. As the years passed, their marriage endured, surviving 3 years of highs and lows. Saurabh would periodically return to India to see his wife. In 2019, Muskan gave birth to a daughter, a new life that brought a glimmer of hope. The birth seemed to soothe the tensions between them, and even their families began to accept Muskan as their daughter-in-law. It appeared their little family had finally found peace and happiness. But a serpent was about to slither into this fragile paradise. Sahil Shukla, also originally from Meerut, entered Muskan's life. Though Muskan had only a minimal education, she had attended the same school as Sahil in their childhood. They had drifted apart after school, but at the end of 2019, a mutual friend created a WhatsApp group to reconnect with their old school friends, and both Sahil and Muskan were added. Their long-dormant friendship reignited. Soon, their conversations moved from the group to private chats. What started as friendly talk quickly escalated, and they began to fall for each other. During their conversations, Muskan learned of Sahil's drug habit. He was a heavy user. He introduced Muskan to drug-laced pills, and she, too, soon developed an addiction. So began a chilling double life. On one side was Saurabh, a loving husband and doting father who provided for his family, and on the other, Muskan, betraying his trust, falling deeper into an illicit affair. Her obsession with Sahil grew to the point where she began plotting to marry him. The only obstacle was Sahil's unemployment. While Saurabh was sending home a steady income from London, which sustained Muskan and her family, Sahil was broke. Muskan began giving Saurabh's hard-earned money to Sahil, who squandered it on gambling and betting. They say love and perfume cannot be hidden, and so it was with Muskan's affair. Her growing coldness and avoidance of Saurabh made him suspicious. One day, he checked her phone and discovered the truth. Her relationship with Sahil. The betrayal was a devastating blow for a man who had sacrificed his entire family for her. Heartbroken and angry, Saurabh decided to file for divorce. But as he contemplated the future, he thought of his daughter. When he spoke to Muskan, she tearfully pleaded for a second chance, promising to change and arguing that a divorce would destroy their daughter's life. Swayed by her words, Saurabh relented, choosing to give their marriage another try. After the reconciliation, Saurabh returned to London. For a brief period, Muskan stopped communicating with Sahil, but her addiction and infatuation were too strong to resist. As soon as her husband was gone, she reconnected with Sahil, and their illicit affair resumed, this time with a new level of secrecy. Saurabh, working in London, was preparing to renew his passport and bring Muskan and their daughter to live with him. He told Muskan his plans, but she refused to join him. After a lot of back and forth, they finally agreed that Muskan would stay in Meerut, while Saurabh would take their daughter to London. To his family's delight, Saurabh made a surprise trip to Meerut on February 24, 2025, just in time for his daughter's birthday on February 28. His primary goal was to celebrate with his family and get the passports for himself and his daughter. The birthday was a joyous occasion, and he also spent time with his family, who were thrilled to have him home for Holi. Everything seemed normal. On March 6th, Saurabh's sister messaged him on WhatsApp, asking if he would join them for Holi. His response was a cheerful, "Are you coming home for Holi this time?" They continued to chat for a while until his sister decided to call him instead. The call went unanswered. Instead, she received a text message from his number explaining that he was away on a trip to Himachal and couldn't talk on the phone. His social media accounts were soon updated with photos and videos from various locations in Himachal. When his sister asked why he and Muskan had left their daughter with her grandparents, the text message replied that the daughter had been unwell. For the next few days, Saurabh continued to communicate with his family only through text messages. His elder brother, Saurabh Rajput, noticed that the texting style was completely uncharacteristic of Saurabh. The family's unease grew. What compulsion was forcing him to text instead of call? When they contacted Muskan, she echoed the same story. They were in Himachal and network issues prevented them from making calls. The strange behavior continued until March 18, 2025. The messages, photos, and videos from Saurabh's account were still coming, but the silence on the phone was deafening. The family's suspicion turned to alarm. They decided to take matters into their own hands and searched near Saurabh's rented house. While searching, Saurabh's younger brother, Rahul, saw Muskan with a strange boy. Disturbed, he reported this to his family. A terrifying realization dawned on them. Their son was incommunicado, and their daughter-in-law was with a mysterious man. With no clear answers from Muskan, the family went to a Meerut police station on March 18, 2025, and filed a missing person report. The police's first stop was the house Saurabh shared with Muskan. The house was locked from the outside. Breaking the lock, they entered to find a scene of chaos. Clothes and furniture were scattered everywhere, and a strong, foul odor hung in the air. The police were horrified to discover bloodstains on the bedsheet, the walls, and even the bathroom. A large trolley bag nearby held a piece of bone. 2 large knives and a cutter were also found. The evidence all pointed to one conclusion: a murder had taken place. Stepping outside the room, the police noticed a large blue drum. It was too heavy to move. When they pried open the lid, a noxious stench forced everyone to cover their noses. The drum was filled with cement. But why the horrific smell? Determined to find out, the police broke through the cement. What they found inside was a sight no one could have prepared for. A person's chopped hands, legs, and other body parts. Were these the remains of Saurabh himself? And who could have done this? The police immediately began a search for Muskan. She was found at her parents' house and taken into custody. At first, she tried to mislead the police, but under relentless questioning, she broke down and confessed. Her confession was a horrifying narrative of deceit and cold-blooded murder. When Saurabh learned of her affair with Sahil, he had planned to divorce her, but he postponed the decision for the sake of their daughter, and they reached an agreement. Muskan pretended to make things right, But as soon as Saurabh returned to London, she and Sahil resumed their affair, which now included a physical relationship. Sahil, meanwhile, was pushing Muskan to marry him. The only obstacle was Saurabh's existence. So, Muskan decided he had to be eliminated. Her plan was as manipulative as it was diabolical. Knowing Sahil was superstitious and obsessed with his late mother, Muskan created several fake social media accounts in her name. From these accounts, she began messaging Sahil, writing that his mother's ghost wanted him to kill Saurabh so he could marry Muskan, whom she claimed was their daughter-in-law. After months of this manipulation, Sahil was convinced. By November 2023, the two of them were meeting in person to finalize their murder plot. The opportunity they had been waiting for finally arrived when Saurabh came to Meerut for his daughter's birthday in February 2025. While Saurabh was celebrating with his family, Muskan was busy secretly preparing for his murder. She went to a hardware store on Sharda Road and bought 2 knives for 800 rupees and a cutter from another shop. She even purchased sleeping pills from a medical hall. The date was set, March 3, 2025. Muskan sent her daughter to her parents' house, ensuring the child would be out of the way. She then mixed a large dose of sleeping pills into Saurabh's food. As soon as he fell unconscious, she called Sahil, who arrived at the house. Sahil ordered Muskan to take the knife and attack her husband. She sat on his chest and plunged the knife into his heart 3 times. Saurabh, unconscious, barely struggled. After a few movements, he died. Sahil then ordered her to cut his throat. When she struggled to do so, he took the knife and, with a few violent motions, beheaded Saurabh. They then tried to fit the dismembered body into a large trolley bag, but it wouldn't fit, so they came up with a new plan. The next morning, March 4th, they went to a junk market and bought a blue drum, along with cement, sand, and bleaching powder to clean the house. Returning home, they chopped Saurabh's body into 15 pieces and packed them into the drum. They filled the drum with cement to prevent any suspicion. Initially, they had considered filling it with soil and planting flowers, but feared the decomposing body might emit a foul odor. With the body hidden, Sahil and Muskan were convinced they had committed the perfect crime. To celebrate, they booked a Swift Dzire cab for 54,000 rupees for a trip to Himachal. Muskan even took Saurabh's mobile phone to keep up the charade. From Himachal, she texted his family, keeping them in the dark, and posted photos and videos on his social media accounts to make everyone believe he was alive. They arrived in Shimla on March 4th and checked into a hotel, pretending to be a married couple. They stayed for a few days before moving on to Manali. From March 10th to 16th, they were in Kaisal. On March 10th, Sahil's birthday, Muskan sent the cab driver to get a large cake and celebrated with Sahil in the hotel, documenting the moment with videos and social media posts. They also indulged in heavy drug use. During the entire trip, Muskan used Saurabh's phone to make payments and maintain the charade with his family. According to some reports, after the trip on March 17th, Muskan and Sahil returned to Meerut. When Muskan's parents asked about Saurabh, she broke down and confessed everything, that she had murdered him and his body was in a blue drum at the house. Distraught, her parents went to the police and reported their own daughter. The police called Saurabh's brother, Saurabh Rajput, and asked him to file a formal missing person report. With the report filed, the police took Muskan into custody, and her confession led them to the house where they recovered Saurabh's body. Sahil was arrested shortly after. The body was sent for a post-mortem. The police began collecting evidence, including the bone piece from the trolley bag and the knives used for the murder. They also recovered fingerprints and used CCTV footage to prove Muskan had bought the knives, sleeping pills, and the drum with Sahil. The cab driver and hotel staff were also called as witnesses. To conduct a more thorough interrogation, the police obtained a 14-day remand for Sahil and Muskan. During this time, it was revealed that they had tried to kill Saurabh once before, on February 25th, but the attempt failed because he didn't eat the food they had laced with pills. After the remand, the two were sent to jail. In jail, Muskan's health deteriorated, and a medical examination revealed she was pregnant. It is yet to be determined whether the child is Saurabh's or Sahil's. Meanwhile, Saurabh's brothers have stated that if the child is medically proven to be Saurabh's, they are willing to adopt it. A separate legal battle is now underway for the custody of Muskin's and Saurabh's daughter, whom Muskin had sent to her parents' house before the murder. Muskin's parents want custody, but Saurabh's family wants to raise the child as a legacy of their son. Currently, the child is with her maternal grandparents. On May 12, 2025, after a 2-month investigation, the police filed a charge sheet with statements from 36 witnesses, including Muskin's parents, who testified against their own daughter. Sahil and Muskin are now in jail, awaiting their sentence. According to jail regulations, Muskin is learning to sew, while Sahil is engaged in agricultural work. Muskin has repeatedly requested to meet Sahil, but since they are not legally married, the request has been denied. However, they have faced each other multiple times through video conferencing during the investigation. Some reports claim they had married in a temple after the murder, but this is not reflected in police records. As we mentioned at the beginning, over 500 couples are involved in partner killings in India alone each year. But the sheer brutality and cruelty of Sahil and Muskin's crime against Saurabh stand apart. This level of savagery is what grabbed headlines and continues to be a subject of national media discussion. Now, it is up to the court to decide the fate of these two. But what punishment do you believe they deserve for their monstrous crime? Share your thoughts in the comments.